Hey guys, and welcome back to Regretsit. Brexit, England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. It seems that in this country, people are going through a real crisis. So many food banks, actually, more food banks than McDonald's. People using candlelight. People got indoor and outdoor jackets. So much money has been put onto people's bills. Food costs have gone through the roof. But our Chancellor, with one of the richest women in the world, collecting furlough. These people are billionaires, while the people in the country are suffering. These guys are collecting furlough. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to the channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. It seems that the Chancellor's wife has managed to save herself £20 million in the time that she's been over here, and it's only cost her £30,000 a year to do that. And the Chancellor was quick to say to us, well, my wife's a non-dom, yeah, and she pays like, £30,000 a year. And so much people are like, so she pays £30,000 a year so she can avoid her taxes. She pays more than I believe that's more than the average wage, isn't it? So it's more than the average wage she pays that she can avoid her taxes. And they're looking and saying, well, it's all within the rules. Right? We declared it. See, is it? There's rules and then there's moral rules. And I somehow don't think that the people of this country are going to look and say, well, actually, yeah, no, he's, because there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are standing up for him. I've heard them on the radio. I've heard quite a few people on the radio who are prepared to phone up and stand up for the Chancellor and his wife. Right, a woman who has saved herself £20 million. Right? I don't think these stories. Yeah, you could make these stories up yet unless your name was J.K. Rowling. Right, that's the only way you're going to make up these type of stories. Right, because I just think that they actually take the British public for fools, because these things, they are all within the rules. That is a fact. But are they morally right? Is it morally right to have someone, right, that is sat next to you, so rich, and then you make sure you devise a scheme so that you can give them more money, right, when they could have paid their workers themselves? Right? You're rich enough to do that. Right? Things like furlough, right? The reason why I was quite annoyed about it, yeah, because there's far too many companies here that are putting in billions of pounds in profits, but yet for all they're taking furlough from us. Why are you taking furlough from us when you're putting in billions of pounds worth of profits? I just found that kind of ridiculous. And when I look at the Chancellor's wife now, right, and then you find out, well, she's managed to save herself £20 million in taxes. So she's taken advantage of the scheme, and then the furlough comes along, and then she takes advantage of that when she doesn't need to. For me, it's just out and out greed, and that's the reason why, yeah, that we need to get all these posh people out of politics. We just shouldn't have them in politics. We should just have them as minority parties. Right? We should insist that the people in the House of Parliament are working class people. That's what we should insist. But you see, I think it's probably just pure corruption, and that's the reason why, even if you started getting some working class people in there, you wouldn't be able to get them in quick enough before the posh lot start to corrupt them. because that's who really run things. The posh people are the people who really run things, and whether they are Tory or whether they're Labour, that's who run things. That's as simple as it is, right? When you had like Jeremy Corbyn at the head of the Labour Party, then you had a different type of people, right, within. If you notice, remember what they done to him. Yeah, they all walked away, all of them. All all the Labour MPs. Remember they all resigned from the front bench in mass, didn't they? If you remember, right? But they done that because they had to make sure that the system goes back to how it is now. Yeah, you can always have your Tony Blair type Labour leader, which is Keir Starmer, right? You can't have a Labour leader that's there for the people. Jeremy Corbyn, Michael Foot, John Mosman, the one that died. Right. Those people, right, will not be allowed to ever actually take power, right, because those people are for the people. Keir Starmer's not for the people. Right. If you've got someone like Keir Starmer, he's just going to follow on from what Tony Blair. So if you remember what Margaret Thatcher said, yeah, that her oh God, what was it? She said that her Tony Blair was her prodigy, or words of that effect. Right, her biggest. They said, what's your biggest success? And she said Tony Blair. You see, so that's what you've got to understand. Those people, they're never ever going to be there for us. Look how Angela Rayner's just had to hold it down now. She can't even speak in the way how we know that she speaks. But she wants to call them scum, or to the London people, scum. That's what she wants to do. But she is not allowed to do that. They've shut her down. Even the Labour was just like, nah, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't be doing that. Right? When the Tories are voting against feeding children. But no, don't call them scum. Voting against disabled issues, but don't call them scum. Everything they do, they vote against social justice issues all the time. But you know what? Don't call them scum for doing it. So that's why we need all of those people out of politics, to have less of this corruption. Right? But as I said, I think that once they get up there, I don't really think you really get much of a choice, right? Because it's like Eton bods who are running this, really, because they're all the ones who are coming out and in defence of Rishi Sunak's wife, a wife who hasn't taken his surname. I always get concerned when that happens. A wife who doesn't take it. Even Jada Pinkett Smith, right, took Will's surname, and she hates him, right? And the Chancellor, believes that this campaign, right, against his wife, right, is coming from the Labour Party. I'm saying, well, I'm not really sure about that. There's a lot of speculation that it's actually coming from Number 10 itself, but I don't really think it really matters where it's coming from. The British public have got their teeth in it now, and there's no way they're going to let it go. And he's coming out today. In one of the newspapers, he's coming out with in an interview, and he said it's the Labour Party's fault. It's their fault, and because they're just talking that nonsense. And now everyone knows, that my wife saved like £20 million. Poor Chancellor, poor thing. A gunman has opened fire in a bar in Tel Aviv, I believe last night. Right. Now I believe that the Palestinians are like freedom fighters, but that you don't be targeting like civilians. Civilians are off limits, right? To I don't care whether you're like Israeli or you're Palestinian. Civilians are off limits, right? you can't expect, right, people to support you, right, if you're murdering civilians, right. You have to take your war to the soldiers and to the police and to the government. That's where you have to take your war to. You can't be taking your war out on civilians, right. We're innocent in all of this, right. It's governments that do all of the wars, and yes, you've got Palestinians who, obviously, if you're murdering civilians, then you're terrorists. Yeah, that's as simple as that. You're murdering civilians, then you're terrorists, right? You need to take your fight, right, to the soldiers, the same soldiers, right, who commit terrorist acts against you. That's where you need to take your fight to. So I'm quite disgusted, yeah, that of what happened in Tel Aviv last night, because it's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. Russia have been removed from part of the United. I think it might just be part of the United Nations, because obviously now they've seen the devastation what the Russians have left behind. Because there's more. There's us. I've seen another town now that the Russians have left, and there was like over 300 civilians murdered in. But they said that this town, that's in the last town, there was over 300 civilians murdered. They said in this town, right, there's a lot more, and so they've kicked them out of part of the UN. So obviously they haven't got a vote no longer, which is a good thing, because you can't really have those people sat next to you, talking absolute nonsense, saying that, oh, these people have been murdered by the Ukrainians, right? When it's clear for the world to see that it's you that's done it. I mean, if you see the convoy of cars, right, that they was bombing and shelling. I mean, the evidence is right there for everybody to see. The evidence is right there, and then plus, as there's some guys who fly drones in Ukraine, and they go out as spotters, and they actually showed actual murder, right? Because you saw some Ukrainians pull up in a car, and they must have got halted by the Russians. At that point, the man's jumped out the car and he's put his hands in the air, and they've just shot him dead. And I mean, the Ukrainians have got that on video. They just shot him dead, shot his wife dead, and there was two more people in the car. They pulled them out, and then next thing you see them dragging the bodies to the side. Just some real disgusting stuff. And that's the reason why it was good to throw them out of the UN. We have absolute Easter travel chaos. Absolute chaos going up in there now. Right? It's an absolute nightmare. Right? Manchester, I've just seen pictures of Manchester. And, I mean, EasyJet, and I'm not going. I can't remember, but all I know is that so much of the airline providers, right, are cancelling their flights. So many flights have been cancelled. People are leaving their bags behind and all this type of thing. It's absolute chaos. Right? What it is, yeah, it's an absolute disaster. Right? And when you go to down to Dover, the A20 and the M20, right, are in absolute meltdown. Right? There is what was they said it was? Over 4,000 lorries lined up, waiting to go through. I think it's as if they didn't realise that Easter was coming. That's probably what that's what it's got to be. It's got to be something like that. They didn't realise that this is a very busy time of the year, so they wasn't prepared. Can that be right? Can that be what's going on in Kent? No. I'll tell you what's going on in Kent. You people voted for Brexit, and you people voted hard for Brexit. Are you enjoying Brexit now? No. Kent is one of the most racist counties in this country, right? Because I remember you people, we just want Brexit. Well, you've got your Brexit now. Now it's time you got your Brexit, right? And this is teaching you racist fools a real lesson, right? Because how are you going to get to your hospital appointments? You can't even get to your hospital appointments. Right? School teachers, I know it's Easter now, but they've been having this problem for quite a while. So school teachers have been having problems. Right? Shopping is a real no-no. You just want to get that shit delivered. And talking of shit, when you have to work your way through bags of shit and bottles of piss, or it could even be the other way around. It could be bottles of shit and bags of piss. But whichever way around, you have to work your way through your garden. Because where do you think all those drivers, what do you think they're doing with their bodily stuff? What do you think they're doing with it? They're lobbing it, yeah, into your front garden. So we've gone from Kent being the garden of England, right, to the lavatory. Just off the EU. Yeah. I saw some interviews with some drivers down there. The European drivers was like, I get some my employer, don't send me back over to England no more, because they don't want to sit in them queues there. They don't want to sit in them queues. All right. And this is because Kent. I'm sure Kent was a Brexit county. Because they knew what they was voting for, and they said to us, something, yeah, don't you dare call me stupid. I'm not stupid. That's what they said. Now, can I call you stupid now? Because I was calling you stupid back then, right? And now, the reason I was calling you stupid was because of what's going on now. So, am I allowed to now say that you're a bunch of stupid, racist fools? And if you wasn't a bunch of stupid, bigoted, racist, xenophobic idiots, this shit wouldn't be happening to you. This wouldn't be happening to you at all. And this is punishment from the EU. Because do you really believe here that the French are being helpful here? French are not being helpful. Not at all. The French are just like, you know what, you guys can deal with that shit yourself. Female refugees from Ukraine, right, are at risk from sexual predators. You could only say, only in this country that shit could happen. That people are actively, right, have put their names down, right, so that they can sexually assault some of these people when they come over, because so it's going to be all it's going to be it's mainly females, isn't it? So I suppose that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of these guys has always got like, look, it's all men, isn't it? Oh, look at them, it's all men. Yeah. Because the men are just like, well, we prefer to leave our females in the war zone and we'll get them later, right, rather than bring them over here for you predators over right in the West. That's quite a shameful story though, right? And the fact that yesterday I said that, or the day before I said that, I bet it's less than 1,000 refugees that we've taken in from Ukraine, and it's actually less than 500, because the system's so damn complicated. Right? The council have to come to your house to check out if you're going to be a sexual predator. Right? No, but the council have to come to your house, right? And if you've got a pond, they're like, no, man. Them kids, they can't come from the war zones, come and live in your house because you've got a pond. Your plug sockets are too low. They can't come from the war zone to live in your house because your plug sockets are too low. I'm not sure, but I think that could be down to the hostile environment. They've got to get past all of that. Right. No wonder this shit's so fucked up, right? Because what they've done, they've put so many twists and turns into the system, right, to try, right, and please the racist fools in this country. They've put so much twists and turns into it, and now it's all coming back to bite them in their flat backside. And you know what I say? It serves you motherfuckers right. Why is it that I am enjoying Brexit more than more than all of you people. It seems I'm enjoying Brexit more than all of you people. I don't understand that. Why am I enjoying it so much? Boris Johnson has big plans for the energy crisis. And it's all new school, isn't it? Because we're going for all the green energy and all them things there. So Boris Johnson thinks we should build 5 new nuclear power stations. Just so if the Russians need somewhere to target, they can all just say, well, we'll target those nuclear power stations and see how we go from there. Nuclear is obviously nuclear is the best power source, right? And it is the cheapest. Not that it'd be the cheapest for us anyway, because it wouldn't be cheap for us anyway. But it is one of the cheapest, and obviously it is one of the safest as well. Believe it or not. Obviously that's unless it blows up or catches fire, or someone targets it with a missile, right? But it is one of the cheapest and one of the safest forms, right? But I think it's just very old school. Right. Especially when you've got wind power, and you've got solar power, and you've got wave power, and there's a few more, and he's set a time scale to so it will be able to help us out with our bills, and this time it was at 2030, I believe it was. So by 2030, right, we can all have cheaper bills by 2030, but if you look at Boris Johnson's record, right, on big projects, right, I think the only one I can remember him actually pulling off, is that cable car, I believe, right, because the estuary, the airport in the estuary, or the Garden Bridge, or the bridge from Scotland to Ireland, or it might have been from London to Ireland, or London to Scotland. I don't know where, but it was all these big projects that he's always talking about, right? Just like the 40 hospitals. It's all big projects that he's always talking about. I mean, they've been building a nuclear power station in this country. They've been building it for a good few years, and it's well over budget as well. So I just say good luck with building 5 new power stations in 8 years, because I'm sure the one they've been building I'm not sure, I don't even know how long it's been, but it could have been longer than that they've been trying to build this one. And then the last time they was talking about this, they was talking about the Chinese paying for the nuclear stations to be built. So is that the option? Is that going to be the option, that we're going to get the Chinese to build it, so that we're dependent on the Chinese nuclear power, just like how Germany and so much of Europe is dependent on Russian oil? I could see mistakes in the making. British holidaymakers have been seen shouting at people in the EU lanes, right, the EU passport lanes, because obviously you've got the EU lanes, and they're quite robust. They move quite fast, and a lot of times you don't even have to show your passport. And then obviously you've got the queue for others. I remember when we used to always walk past, we would just be looking at the queue going like, others. Not anymore, because now we're in that queue, right? And the British holidaymakers have been pissed about it. They've been shouting obscenities, right, at some of the EU holidaymakers, right, who are just walking through, right, as if they're celebrities. You know something? If I was the EU, I'd put a red carpet there. That's what I'll do. Because the British is just unbelievable. You did ask for Brexit, and now you're complaining about so many different aspects of Brexit. Complain. Well, you complain your racist ass away, because it was you with your racist, damn foolish vote who put yourself where it is. Brexit set to make UK more dependent on food imports. Hold on, what are you talking about? That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen at all. How the hell, yeah, you can be in a country, yeah, where there's so much pork and people eat so much pork, and you, they have to be importing more pork in this country than ever before, and all other, obviously all other meat products as well. We're not, we ain't leaving out cows and chickens. We ain't leaving them out. But imagine that in a country that is so, got so much, that had so much going for it. The British farming industry was once the greatest farming industry in the world. And not only have they destroyed, like, the car manufacturing, and steel and I'll say coal, but obviously that was going anyway. But all these industries have all been destroyed, and they're just like, don't worry, we'll just import it all in. Don't worry about that. Oh, everything will just be imported. We don't need to concern ourselves, right? Don't worry about the workforce over here. They could all work in offices. That is the truth. And that, my friends, is a wrap. Anyway, guys, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.